We want to welcome you back to All Things Real Estate. Once again, your hosts, Gary Kelly and Brad Avergon.
We're back for the second half. I'm Gary Kelly, by the way. I'm with Castanade Realty Group, and I am with the ever debonair
Brad Avergon with Fairway Independent Mortgage.
Still independent?
Still independent. Happily married, but still independent.
Okay.
Hey.
Do I see a pineapple somewhere in your room? I don't know, Brad. Kind of concerning a little bit there. So we were talking about going up to a home in a neighborhood and noises and things like that. I also think scent is a big one. Some people don't like the smell of the ocean. I happen to be someone that does like the smell of the ocean, but I prefer high tide to low tide. I will fully acknowledge that. But people, scent is a big deal for some folks.
Absolutely. It's interesting. My wife was just sharing a story with me. She grew up in Natick, not far from Route 9. And for folks that have been
Wonder
around,
Bread on Sunday mornings?
so listen, so Wonder Bread, not just Sunday mornings, all the time. So she would have that smell of fresh bread. However, depending on which way the wind was blowing,
Right.
also right there was Carling Brewery. So she would smell all the smell of the hops and everything, which did not smell as nice as the Wonder Bread. So depending on which way the wind was blowing would determine what she smelled, good or bad, from her home. So that can pay off.
I'm originally from Cleveland, and Cleveland had steel factories, and you go by the steel factories, and sometimes they did not smell pleasant. Trust me.
Yeah, I can see that.
So when you go up and you enter the home, as the real estate agent's fumbling with the keys, that's a chance for you to look at the home itself. Is the paint peeling? Does the door open easily? Those are all things that I think start to suggest how the house has been maintained over time.
I would agree with you. And some of them, you talk about paint peeling. Some mortgage products don't allow for peeling paint. As a homeowner or somebody looking to buy a property, you may think nothing of it, but there's some products, Federal Housing Administration, FHA loans in particular, that don't allow peeling paint. So that's going to be something when you're considering if you like the house, making an offer on it, that's something that you're going to have to deal with.
Yeah, we had a house that we were selling out in the center part of the state. And a loan officer came through, on a Sunday, looking at properties, handing out business cards, kissing babies. And, the thing that came up was, when it comes time, if your buyer is going to have an FHA loan, this deck is going to have to be, the peeling paint's going to have to be addressed.
Yeah. It's funny how we loan officers look at things a little different sometimes than I think
Right.
a lot of buyers and or agents sometimes look at. We look at, okay, this product's going to flag this, then this. So it's a different filter.
So I've shown hundreds of properties literally, and as a general thing, and this is not a rule, it's a general thing, women tend to go up in a house and look at the bedrooms, look at the layout, look at the kitchen, and men go down in the house. They go to the basement where the bowels of the house. And what I find interesting is, honestly, I don't think most guys know what they're looking at once they get down to the basement. Okay, it's like if I break down and I raise the hood on my car, I'm not a motor guy. I don't know anything about what's under there. In my car, most of the engine is covered up by plastic pieces. I don't know how to take any of that stuff off. And so I stand there and I look at it. I think same thing happens when you go down to the basement. And you've got people saying, well, what kind of a boiler is this? And you go over and you look at the label and you say, well, it's a Buderis. Oh, good boiler. Well, are there bad boilers? I know that there are boilers that perhaps aren't, don't have the longevity, etc. And I've had like a plumber come up and say, that's a garbage boiler. Yeah, it may be a garbage boiler, but it's been sitting here for 30 years being a garbage boiler, so it's okay.
That's right. Yeah, I think you're right. I think a lot of, and I don't want to come across as sexist here, but I think a lot of men look down and want to see the mechanics of the property. I always say, well, go look at the bones. Let's go look at the bones. I want to see the beams carrying are the beams that are carrying the first floor that everyone's walking on. Are they straight? Do they look warped? Do they look rotted? Is there something I need to be concerned about that's basically going to blow back on me down the road?
Right.
And it's going to cost me a lot of money versus I'm not as concerned about colors. If I walk in, first of all, I know that my wife is going to have her own color palette that she's going to put on the house after I get in there anyway. So it doesn't matter what I see for colors for the most part, unless they're really offensive or something. I don't know. But most I would, and again, I don't want to be sexist, but I think most women are going to want to make the house customized to their taste. They're going to add their own colors, their own flair, and all of that sort of thing. So I don't really get hung up on that stuff.
I was told once that I was colorblind by a former girlfriend and that I needed gray animals to get dressed with. I think that some of that may be an exaggeration, but I certainly don't have the flair to put together a color palette. There are people far better equipped than I am to do that. And I think that when it gets to buying a house and you're doing colors, I don't particularly find that enjoyable. I lived with someone once who came in and painted, I want to say 9 patches on the wall. This was before they gave you a sticky sheet of paper to put on the wall. She painted 9, and then she said, well, which one do you like? And I said, well, I like that one, and I like that one. And I got an immediate, slow turn of the head. You would. If these are not options that are tenable for you, don't give them to me as options if you don't want my opinion on it. And that's okay. I will fully acknowledge other people do colors far better than I do. No question about it.
I'm right there with you, Gary.
I'm wearing a shirt today. I don't know how well you can see it, but it's little boat anchors.
I do see that, Gary.
Okay.
Lovely
and I've got a, tan, I got it back up, I guess. Tan khakis on,
Yes.
Blue and tan, kind of a man uniform, so to speak.
Anchors are
someone came up to me today and said, I like your shirt with the anchors on it. Okay. Thank you.
That's good, Gary. That's good. Yeah. No, what color's a funny thing. It's very and I'm guessing that you have walked into homes where you're going to be listing them. You're doing a listing presentation, and let's say that the seller's flair for color may be on the brighter end of the spectrum than on the other. And part of your counseling is, well, hey, it's only paint, but you might want to tone it down to make it more neutral so that somebody walks in and can feel they can put their color palette on. Would that be a fair statement?
I have been told that if you don't like my color choice, then you have no taste. Okay. and okay, that's fine. We had one client who they had in their dining room a very large, very buxom woman on the wall. And she was, let's just say she was nude. And we would have kids come through on showings and they would stand and stare, mouth wide open, staring at that picture. And I remember having the discussion saying, maybe that picture needs to go somewhere for the period where we're showing the house. And it stayed until the last dog was hung, just the way it was. The other thing is, when it comes to looking at a house, towns have records on houses. And I think it's useful to go down and look at what the town has. A lot of that stuff's online now. You can look and see if there are open permits. We had one recently, and I'm just going to share this story because it shows that it's not perfect. We were on a listing appointment for a house in Grafton, and we had pulled the open permits, and we said, your house has open permits. And the guy we were talking to is a contractor and had redone the house and assured us that the permits had all been closed. Well, like the good guy he is, he scampered down to the town the next day and said, what's with all the open permits? Well, Bob used to keep everything on a spreadsheet. Bob's no longer here. When we brought everything over, we didn't know what we could close, and so they're all open until we get to close them. It's like, okay. And that's kind of where we are with a lot of the towns. The data is not perfect. So if you see something in a town record that doesn't make sense, check with the town, see what they have in the hard copy. It makes a difference.
Are you able to help people with open permits? So when they come across a house that there is open permits on, and let's say they want to make an offer on it, is that something that you're able to kind of assist them with, or working it out, or how does that work?
Well, we can call the town, we can call the building department and ask them to verify what's open. I will never ask a town to close something that they don't think should be closed. But if you've got a permit that's been open from 20 years ago, most towns will close that, saying, the work must be done. It's not worth chasing down. We do have some towns where they don't want to do that if there's like a plumbing issue, a gas issue. They want to come out and look at it. So be it. We had one actually in Westboro where there was one permit open. Everything else had been closed. They wanted to come out and look at it. It was for a bathroom faucet. Okay, they came out today. They spent 5 minutes. No big deal. It's just the time of doing it. But we don't try to influence the town in that at all. I mean, that's just not right.
Yeah.
So the last thing is, Google an address. Google will often tell you if there's been a fire in the house, if the fire department had to roll out and take a look at it and that kind of thing. We've had a house once that we were actually representing the buyer on, and the inspector found charred wood up above the ceiling tiles. And we found out that we actually Googled it, but then we talked to the town and found out that there had been 2 fires in that house. So the people bought the house. It was great. The rest of the story, is boring, but it's amazing what you can find just doing a Google search. Brad, if someone wants to talk to you, how do they reach you?
Best way to reach me, Gary, is via my cell phone, which is 978-375-5531, or they can email me at brad@bradavergon.com. Gary, how do they reach you?
I can be reached at 508-733-6005 or Gary@movewithgary.com. Brad, thanks for coming out to play today.
My pleasure as always, Gary. Be good.
Thank you for watching All Things Real Estate. If you do have any questions, feel free to reach out to Brad or Gary.